Okay.
Welcome to the Infinite Human Talk Show with Elizabeth Monroy. Over the next hour, you'll learn how you can become part of the new consciousness renaissance by evolving yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, and socially to embrace your true divine infinite nature and become an infinite human and co-creator of the new infinite earth. Now, here is your host, Elizabeth Monroy.
Oh, thank you for that lovely introduction. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Infinite Human Talk Show, my divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever, ever shall be. And I'm going to tell you about this exciting new talk show that I'm now launching as your host, Elizabeth Monroy. But first, if you can, wherever you are, even if you're busy, or driving, you don't have to close your eyes and totally trance out, but let's just try to take a moment to tune in, to ground ourselves, to center ourselves, and to reconnect with divine infinite source within us. So if you can breathe in, I am, the two most powerful words ever used to utter existence. And then peace. And one more time, breathing in, I am. And exhaling, infinite, infinite, infinite. And just feel that divine spark of infinite source inside of your heart of hearts, inside your very center of your beingness. Breathing in, I am. Infinite love. Again, breathing in, I am. Infinite truth. And again, I am. Infinite source. And just feel this beautiful, peaceful, divine, infinite source that is part of you. It is the part of you that is, always has been, and ever shall be. It is the part of you that knows the truth, that feels what resonates, that knows what you're supposed to be doing now. And I'm Elizabeth Monroy again, the host. This is the first show. Of course, everything went wrong before I got on, but here I am. And I just want to kind of introduce myself. I'm a author of the book, The Infinite Human, which spawned this show. And it's basically describing how fallen and messed up our earth is. And I think most people can agree upon that. And we're going to be looking at that, not just to bash it, not to truth bomb everything, but to look at solutions, how we can co-create a much better, more infinite earth outside of the matrix. So I wrote that book for that purpose. I also write a lot of other books. I'm a filmmaker, and I had a film school in Florence, Italy for many years before what I call the scamdemic, the plandemic. And I'm going to be saying a lot of things. I don't ask you to believe anything I say. I ask you to only take what resonates. But I felt a real strong call to voice myself here on Voice America, because during the time when I was in Italy and I knew what was going on, I tried my best to voice my perspectives, my opinions, my perceptions, and I was, completely censored from YouTube. Had my account strikes against me. I had my Facebook account closed about 5 times. I had my blogs removed, everything. And so now, unfortunately, we live in a very, very censored censored society, and the net is very censored. But I've been promised here at Voice America that my voice can be heard and it will be uncensored. And I will be sharing this. And I also have time for people to call in and voice their opinions and their questions. And I also will be opening this up for guests from time to time to come in and to share their perceptions, because I think it's very important that we all are allowed to put together this piece of the puzzle. And I launched today on Columbus Day because I think I really want to dispel the myth of Columbus discovering America. And I'm going to start the show with that. We'll be talking about that in just a short while. But this month, I'm going to focus on the hidden history of our planet, because I think it's really important for us to know the true history that has been hidden from us, that has been edited, that has been removed. The documents have been confiscated. And because if you don't know the past, you will keep recreating it. As they say, history repeats itself. So what's been happening is we have been repeating history over and over and over again. The same mistakes, the same victimizer programs, war continuously. In fact, as I speak, war is raging yet again on our small planet, on our mother. So we're going to talk about that. But the whole purpose of my talk show, and I'm going to be with you for a year now, I signed a contract and I'm funding it myself. Okay. It's not about selling things. It's not about selling my books or products. It's about getting the truth out there, because we live in such a powerful and pivotal time. And every day we're being asked to wake up. We're being asked to make wise choices, because each choice we make is determining our future. And we are really deciding if we are going to be on an ascending timeline, returning back to divine infinite source, or what I call resetting to the infinite, or if we're going to continue in a time loop, which is actually descending and going down, 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 down into places that you really don't want to go. But we have free will, so everyone has that choice. But my job is not to co-opt your free will. I would never do that. It's to empower you, to remind you, to inspire you, to remind you of how infinite and powerful you are, and how you need to really become aware of what's happened on this planet, how so much of your power and free will, your abilities have been co-opted, and how to get it back. Okay. And so that's what I'm doing. And once you return to your divine, infinite, angelic state, then you can become a co-creator of the new earth by individually starting your own, co-creating your own divine, blissful future. And the point of this channel is the empowerment channel is to empower you, to help you to evolve physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, and socially. So we'll be bringing all that in. It's also my hope that we can begin networking. We can all come together, because I consider us to be a race with amnesia. We've been in a coma and we're waking up, and we're putting together our true history. All of us are divine pieces of this jigsaw puzzle, and we are all bringing our puzzle pieces together to create a foundation built on truth, because you cannot heal in lies. So we have to first understand the truth so we can co-create something that is outside of the matrix, outside of the fallen systems that we have been victimized by. And we're all rewriting our life stories to move beyond being victims. And every day we have that, and if you've the reason I wrote my book, The Infinite Human, too, was to see that I have gone through so many struggles, and that's part of the hero's journey. I embrace my struggles because I've learned so much. It's made me a stronger, wiser, more determined, more multidimensional being. And I think that's really important. I know that many of you find yourself alone right now. And a wonderful, wonderful person that I'm just meeting from Malta, I won't mention her name. I read a post she put today, and I want to just mention it because I know many people are falling from your lives like flies, maybe. Just like, oh, I thought I had this relationship. Oh, I thought he or she was my friend or my lover or whatever. And they seem to be disintegrating. And that's because one, we're watching the artificial timelines disintegrate. And two, you're as you raise your vibration and frequency, you pull in new people. You've learned all the lessons you have from those people. They've given you the gift, and it's time to give them gratitude and to move on. Okay. So, that's where we're at right now. It's a time of great pivotal change. And the truth is, and I think almost everyone listening to my voice can agree that our world is really messed up and it's been getting further and further away from what I write about in my book, the word of God. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. But to me, that means the word was within harmony with the vibrational frequency of what I call infinite God source. And the more we have strayed from that word, that frequency, the more fragmented, the more traumatized, the more diseased, the more disconnected we have become. And we have fallen into, deep, dark doo-doo. But we're returning back to source. The whole time matrix, the whole multiverse that we live in is now being reset, as I call it, and it's returning back home. But now this is a very, very, it's a new beginning. And it's the end times, which the Mayan calendar talked about, but it's now the beginning times. And so many of you, and I feel like if you're tuning in, if you're attuning to my words, to this channel, you perhaps are feeling also, because I've been encrypted genetically, you are from a very high place and you've come here to help midwife birth this new, not only, it's not just the new earth, it's also a whole reset of our whole multiverse. So the cosmos, it's huge, but each of you is so vital, it's so important. And I know many of you are struggling, you're waking up, some of you don't understand, because I hear you send me emails, you send me T-mails, I call telepathy mails, you send me messages, and many of you are it's a very precarious, very challenging time. And it's going to probably get more and more challenging as it strips you of ego, it strips you of attachments, it strips you of everything that is not resetting to divine infinite source. So it is a tough time, but hopefully with this program that I am being instructed, it will make it a little bit easier. It'll ease your way into this beautiful time. So you won't be just surviving, you will be thriving. And that's my goal. So we'll talk about that in more detail, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. We're going to take a short break.
All right, perfect. We're all clear. Back in 2 minutes.
Follow Voice America at facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
For more empowering words from Elizabeth Monroy and Dr. Peter Monroy, check out their latest book, The Infinite Human, an ascension guide for starseeds, twin souls, and awakening infinite humans, the co-creators of the new infinite 5D Earth. You'll also find many spiritual books to help both children and adults in their ascension back to home, to infinite God source. Isn't it time to be part of the new consciousness renaissance? If this resonates with you, please subscribe to our website at infinitehuman.com and become part of our growing Infinite Human family.
Voice America programs are now available on your favorite connected device. including Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home. Through streams with Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio, listening to your favorite show is as easy as saying the show name followed by the word podcast.
Hey, Alexa, play Finding Your Frequency podcast.
If that doesn't work, try adding on TuneIn or on iHeartRadio or on Apple Podcasts.
Tune in to Empowering Women in Educational Leadership, a dynamic radio show celebrating women across all venues of education. Join us as we elevate diverse perspectives and success stories of trailblazing educators, highlighting that leadership is not always about a title. Discover strategies to overcome challenges and hear amazing stories of strength. Empowering Women in Educational Leadership with Dr. Stephanie Duca, Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
Okay, coming back in 10.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Welcome back to the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. Do you have a question or comment for Elizabeth or her guests? Please call us at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. You can also text or email your questions and comments to infinitehumanproductions@gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
Thank you. So glad to be back. And I just want to reiterate that this show is really for you. It's for you who feel a calling to be of service to this planet in this time. So please, I really invite you to send your questions and comments, to reach out to me, to share this podcast with people that you think are of like mind and have the same sense of service. And today I want to talk, since it is Columbus Day in America, and this is Voice America, I really wanted to take a moment to talk about really dispel the myth of Columbus, because, I think that I'm American, but I live outside of America by choice. And I was back there when my mother passed away last year, and I found the environment so toxic because I was so very, very ill. And the only way I was able to actually survive was to take infrared saunas every day. And, the food was just so not edible. It was not real food. And I have a deep concern about America. Of course, America has been a very strong influence over our entire planet. So I feel like there are many Americans who know this and who are trying to make a change and a difference. But I think we really have to understand the lie that we've been living in and dispel the myths so we can get back to what is real. And this is going to help us face the challenging times, especially economical challenges that face us. So just a short little thing about Columbus. And ironically enough, Peter and I built an eco village on Bastiamento, which was where Columbus first landed in Panama. But this was I just picked this up off the internet. It's a quote from the diary of Michael de Cunha, who was on the expedition with Columbus. And he said, "While I was in the boat, I captured a very beautiful woman whom the Lord Admiral Columbus gave to me. When I had taken her to my cabin, she was naked, as was their custom. I was filled with desire to take my pleasure and with her and attempted to satisfy my desire. She was unwilling and so treated me with her nails, and I wished I had never begun. I then took a piece of rope and whipped her soundly, and she let forth such incredible screams that you would not have believed your ears. Eventually, we came to terms. I assure you that you would have thought she had been brought up in a school for whores." This is the Columbus journey. According to Columbus, according to Cuneo, over 1,500 men and women were seized, and then many of them were enslaved and sent to Spain. But 50,000 Indians committed mass suicide rather than comply with the Spanish. And on the voyage over, much like what happened to the African Americans who were brought here, many of them died and their bodies were thrown over. So I think it's fair to say that Christopher Columbus is not what we said, what we think he is. He was commissioned, and I think there was definitely an agenda, and the agenda was basically realized when, according to the American census, there was over 10 million Native Americans when Columbus landed, and in 1914 there was 300,000. So it was definitely a genocide. Now there were also something that, and our guest can't be with us today, but she had mentioned that she had found documents in the Florence Library, which still holds documents, some up to 500 to even a couple thousand years old, according to her. And one of them was a witch's hammer, which was given to Columbus, which talked about basically saying that anyone that is not Catholic, is savage and deserves to be murdered, enslaved, or raped, that women are evil, that, anything that doesn't prescribe to the Catholic concept of God is, savage and heathenistic. And that couldn't be farther than true. At the time when Columbus arrived, for example, in the Yucatan, where I spent the winter last year, looking into eco villages and new earth communities, they had, Mexico City was probably rivaled Rome at that time. It had pyramids, architecture. The Mayans had an understanding, of course, of the calendar, the Mayan calendar, which we still refer to today. They had a comprehension of how to, agriculture and astrology and, things that far surpassed Europeans in many aspects. So we have to realize that there was an agenda. I really don't believe that Columbus got lost. But of course, this is something when I say something, I encourage you to do your own research. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm not trying to prove anything. But I think the biggest question I'm trying to raise right now, which I am with the entire talk show series, will be wow, what has happened? Why has our history been altered? What are they trying to hide from us? All right. And most importantly, what was the result of this influx of Europeans, this genocide of the indigenous or ancient people that held this ancient knowledge? What was the result of that? So that's a good question. And if anyone wants to comment, I know this is our first show, so we might not have any callers, but I would like to say that, first of all, you have to understand these people, okay? And this also existed in Europe, but it was snuffed out. I just came back from Malta, and I'll be talking more about that in a future episode. But that was basically one of the most powerful places for the goddess energy, and that divine feminine goddess energy, that connection, most importantly, to our Mother Earth, was so strong among the ancient cultures of our planet. And that it goes back to these ancient, way before the Celts, but the Celts are the remnants of it. We'll talk about that next week when we bring a guest in. We'll be talking about the hidden history that goes way back, millions and millions of years. But for right now, some of these ancient cultures still held those records, still held those genetics, still held those practices, still honored the law of one, which was the understanding that we are one. We are all one, especially with our Mother Earth, and that they knew the herbology, they knew how to plant and grow food that fed them. They knew they understood the cosmos of the stars and the energy, of the cosmos. They had these ancient texts that had the true history of our planet. And they were stamped out, and we'll talk about that later, throughout Europe, with Malta and the Celtic cultures, in the Cathars, the Essenes, the Celtic cultures of England. And when they did that, they got in boats I went across the pond to these ancient cultures that were still living very much with reverence to Mother Earth. Many of these ancient tribes were very, instead of patriarchal, they were matriarchal. They still had been hijacked in terms of human sacrifices and things like that, but they still had remnants of texts and artifacts that and architectural wonders, and we'll talk about that later on this month too, that were remnants of our true history. And it was basically proof that our planet is much, much older than the scholars in academia would have us believe. So, and we also had a beautiful relationship with our Mother Earth. We respected her, we honored her, we nurtured her, and she gave back to us. And that was totally destroyed. And I, in a book that I wrote with my husband, Dr. Peter Monroy, called The Pathway Home, and we wrote it over 30 years ago, but I re-edited it and talked about the cure for certificate of vaccination identification documentation, or what people are calling COVID, is really returning to harmony with nature and using herbs and things like that, and using eating good food, and biosyncing ourselves with nature. And there's such a long story behind that, which I will get into later in some more series. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, The Infinite Human, you can get a PDF on my website, or Amazon still has printed books, so that can fill you in on the details so you can understand more about what I'm talking about. But the most important thing that we need to realize, and we're going to take another short break, but is that the profound impact of Columbus and the myth of him telling us that he discovered America, that there was nothing here, and that we became a culture that was juxtaposed, that was severed, that was separated from our Mother Earth. And that has had, I think that has begun a whole calamity of dis-ease, of separation, of poverty. In those times, we were abundant. We were abundant because our Mother gave us met our needs. We knew how to commune with nature. We knew how to summon the rain, the fire, the elements. We knew how to work in collaboration with them. We knew how to heal and balance ourselves from the food and from her herbs, and from all the bounty that she gave us. And now we're facing the crisis. Okay, we call it what do we call it now? Climate change. Not climate change. They're changing the climate, or make the earth green again. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Buffy St. Marie and her ballads. She has been warning us for so long. And when I was young, I used to listen to her. And then the Hopi prophecy. So we're going to take another short break. And when we come back, we'll just talk about what we can do to heal ourselves, to connect with our Mother Earth, and to co-create a whole beautiful future. All right. So we'll be right back very, very shortly. And again, if you have any calls, please feel free to call in or ask me a question. All right. So we'll be right back. Ciao for now.
Okay, good. All clear. Back in a couple.
Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today.
For more empowering words from Elizabeth Monroy and Dr. Peter Monroy, check out their latest book, The Infinite Human, an ascension guide for starseeds, twin souls, and awakening infinite humans.
So we'll be right back.
Infinite 5D Earth. You'll also find many spiritual books to help both
With
children
Voice
and adults
America.
in their ascension
Voice
back to
America,
home,
are you
to
there?
infinite God source. Isn't it time to be part of the new consciousness renaissance?
Yeah, we're on the commercial break here.
Oh.
Part of our growing infinite human family.
Have you become a member yet? Sign up now to become a member of Voice America. It's always free and easy. Plus, you get to take advantage of some great member benefits. Get unlimited access to millions of hours of on-demand content across all of our channels. Keep track of your favorite episodes, shows, and hosts in your own customizable library. Find out what shows you might be interested in based on your favorites. Plus, you get insider access with our newsletter. Membership gives you more. Sign up at voiceamerica.com and click register at the top right.
On Read My Lips Radio, producer and host, aka Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Oh, how those lips can talk.
It's your world. Motivate, change,
All right, we're just about to
succeed.
come back.
VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Welcome back to the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. Do you have a question or comment for Elizabeth or her guests? Please call us at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. You can also text or email your questions and comments to infinitehumanproductions@gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
Hello and welcome back. Today we're dispelling the myth of Columbus Day, and we're talking about really what is now being called celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. And I grew up in America, and of course, like most Americans of my generation, I had no idea about, Indians, about what happened to the Indians. I just remember when I was really young, I must have been like 10 or 11 or something, listening to the Monkees, and one of their songs said, "Ask your mommy and daddy what happened to, Indians. How come they're all living in places, where no one else would want to live?" And then when the 60s came, in 69, I remember my parents came back changed, and they started listening to, all kinds of ballads of the Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and Buffy Sainte-Marie. And Buffy Sainte-Marie was a Native American who sang ballads about the truth. And she sang "In My Country 'Tis of Thee," America, basically told about how the Rockefellers, had had traded blankets after the food supply had been destroyed by the Westerners, the Europeans coming out and slaughtering the buffalo. They were starving. They were cold. They didn't have their their relationship with Mother Earth. They knew how to take care of themselves and feed themselves, and they were traded blankets for land, and the blankets were filled with, were taken from dying soldiers, during the Civil War, or who were dying of smallpox, and they were filled with smallpox, and that's another method that we went from 10 million to 300,000, in just, since Columbus discovered America. So that, opened my eyes when I heard that. As a young child, I kept saying, what happened? What happened? So, and actually, I went out west many times when I was younger with my parents, and then my husband and I, my husband was a physician. We just he had a very lucrative practice in Orlando, Florida, and we just shut up our dream home. I built this decadent dream home that just did not satisfy me at all. I felt so shallow afterwards. And we climbed into an RV, one of those like C-class RVs, and headed west. And we went west, and we ended up working with the Native Americans who really, really needed our help. My husband was OBGYN, and you could not find any OBGYNs at that time. who wanted to work on Indian reservations, but he did. And we lived in Winslow, and I saw just the whole destitute, the hopelessness, the diabetes, the alcoholism, but not on the Hopi reservation. The Hopi had totally disconnected and and maintained as what they called the true teachings, and they still held the true history. And if you look at the Hopi prophecy rock now, and the also the Rainbow Warriors prophecy, they talk about a time, and I wrote it in my book, but it's so prophetic. And I just want to say that the reason I bring up Buffy St. Marie is when she sang her ballad, she always talked, her refrain that she repeated throughout her song was, "America, your people are dying." And when I was younger, I thought she was talking about the Native Americans that are dying. But they were warned. The Native Americans were warning us that this time would come. And I've heard that just in the past 3 years, over 1 billion people have died. And we'll get into what really happened during this pandemic. Another time. I'm live streaming this on YouTube and Facebook, so I'm doing this at first, but I do hope you jump on to the Voice America, because this is uncensored, and every time I talk about what's really going on Facebook, I have my account closed, so I won't talk about it today. But I will say that the Hopi prophecy, just read the first lines of it. When the earth being ravaged and polluted, the forests being destroyed. How many forests have been destroyed? The birds falling from the air, the waters blackened, the fish are poisoned in the stream, the trees are no longer. How many trees have they lost? Mankind as we know it would cease to exist. So that's pretty strong. And a new tribe shall come forth on the earth, from all colors, classes, creeds, and will be known by their actions and deeds, and they will make the earth green again. This tribe shall be called the Warriors of the Rainbow. And they will seek the elders, the knowledge. For elders will be respected and valued for their contribution. Their wisdom will be sought out. So I know a lot of people keep quoting the Rainbow Warriors, but and we're in a green agenda, but let's really look deeply what that means. I mean, I know we're seeing a little bit of self-sufficient, sustainable living, and I listened to something on the BBC talking about that. But we really have to go deeper than that. We really have to begin, yes, planting seeds, true seeds of change. There's such a dark agenda, the artificial life agenda, okay, the AI agenda, and then the organic agenda. Now I'm going to refer to the Prophecy Rock, which is on the Hopi Reservation, and it's something that could not be edited. When Columbus came, the Mayans and all these people, the Aztecs, they had ancient texts, as did the goddesses on Malta and the Cathars and the Essenes. And we'll be talking about the truth. This whole broadcast is going to be about the truth that were in all of these hidden documents that were confiscated by the Catholic Church and are currently under the Vatican. But there are many more that are hidden. The Nag Hammadi is just an example of this, but they all pretty much say the same thing, which is why nobody wants us to know the truth, the hidden truth about our planet. But the Prophecy Rock was a rock, so they couldn't edit it, they couldn't mistranslate it, and the elders were not saying what it was about. In fact, when I was working with a spiritual teacher many years ago, she was asking us what it meant, and we were trying to decipher it. And at that time, I got a sense of it. And now they've actually started explaining it. And the most pressing thing that it speaks of the time we're in now. And that's why I'm speaking out on Voice America with the voice of truth, because there are choices to be made. And this 5,000-year-old rock talks about the very moment, this very day that we're in. And it talks about two timelines. There's two lines. There's one line that continues around the rock. and it's of the one-hearted people that are true, that are that continue on into eternity, eternal life, or what I call the Kristalla spiral, which returns back to God's source and back in alignment with the law of one, with unity consciousness, with love, with understanding that we're all deeply connected, and resets in alignment with divine infinite source. And that's the true line. But there's another line that ends abruptly, and they call it the line of the two-hearted people who begin to worship technology. And that line ends abruptly. And we certainly are seeing in our world today, with all the death that's happening to many people who have succumb to weaponized medicine, who have, with all the EMF waves that are polluting us, among with chemtrails, the geoengineering. We'll talk about that a lot more. But, we're going to really see the research behind that. But it's time to really choose, make sound choices, especially America, because here, at least here in Europe, we have some ancient cultures that still remain, and there's still traditions that were passed down. But the whites were so separated from the Indians that there was very little integration until later on in history, when during the 60s, when some people went back and kind of started to say, wow. And I think it's time for us to go back to the elders and find this wisdom, this knowledge, this deep connection of the earth. And when we come back, we're gonna finish this show up about solutions. How can we be the change? How can we, even in our own private, individual ways, what can we do to really shift things? So, all right. And we're also going to talk about, well, I'm going to get into kind of the fact that we also all have this ancient wisdom within us, all right, as we tap into our divine infinite selves. So how can we begin to strengthen that connection so that we can find solutions more from a multidimensional perspective, instead of repeating the same old patterns and being victimized or victimizing, or coming from a place of division or hopelessness or disharmony, so we can refine that unity within our own unity consciousness of knowing that we're all part of divine infinite source. We're all one. So, and I hope you will join me in this. So we're going to take another short break here. And when we come back, we'll kind of meditate over, perhaps you might be asking yourself during this break, what can I do right now? How can I start to reposition myself so I'm on the ascending timeline? So I'm on the timeline that goes back to eternity, to eternal God source, and make it a good future. Co-create a beautiful future. Okay, so we'll be right back after this short break.
All right, good job. All clear. Back in 2.
A little birdie told me Voice America is on Twitter. Follow us at Voice America TRN.
For more empowering words from Elizabeth Monroy and Dr. Peter Monroy, check out their latest book, The Infinite Human, an ascension guide for starseeds, twin souls, and awakening infinite humans, the co-creators of the new infinite 5D Earth. You'll also find many spiritual books to help both children and adults in their ascension back to home, to infinite God source. Isn't it time to be part of the new consciousness renaissance? If this resonates with you, please subscribe to our website at infinitehuman.com and become part of our growing Infinite Human family.
Where can you listen to some of the world's top life coaches ready to dish out success tips and entrepreneurial guidance? The Voice America Empowerment Channel will do just that. Whether it's personal growth, building a better business, or inspirational life stories, make it a daily habit to tune into our programs. From weight loss and personal branding to law of attraction and increased happiness, you'll find it every day at voiceamericaempowerment.com. The Voice America Empowerment Channel. It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed.
Do you often find yourself at odds with coworkers, friends, or family? Do you have a short fuse and easily end up in arguments? Frustrated with your inability to have a healthy dialogue with anyone? Maybe it's time for a shift in your communication style. Maybe it's time to stop telling and start listening. And join this podcast where you'll discover how to elevate your conversation and navigate the tensions in those difficult relationships. Stop telling and start listening with David Cook. Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America
All right, 10
Empowerment
seconds.
Channel.
Coming back for the final segment.
Success starts here. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com. It's your world.
Welcome back to the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. Do you have a question or comment for Elizabeth or her guests? Please call us at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. You can also text or email your questions and comments to infinitehumanproductions@gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back. We're wrapping up our first maiden voyage, dispelling the myth of Christopher Columbus and celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. And I really want to, with the segments of every show, I want to spend the last few minutes finding solutions, because it's one thing to show the truth, to show both the dark and the light side of reality, because there is a dark side, and you can't spiritually bypass and just ignore things and expect everything to be love, 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 and false light, love and love, false light, because you're never going to really be a change, make a difference. And the point of the show is to empower you all to be the change and to make the difference. So to become alchemists, you have to transmute, you have to blend and harmonize both the dark and the light. And as you can see, part of the alchemizing is also healing. And as you can see, we've had a very, very dark past. This is Voice America, so I'm going to talk about America, but really what's happened in America is just the recent future. If we look at the hidden history of our planet, we'll see it's just repeating itself. But I feel like, as an American, I feel like we're about to face an extremely challenging time. And the truth is, Americans have had it really, really good. There's been a lot of money. There's been a lot of opportunity for many Americans. Now, that's not true and I'll talk about that more, because Peter and I worked with all the poor Black communities, the Native American communities, the immigrant, Mexican immigrant communities. So it's not true for all Americans. But on, the WASPy level, there's been a lot of wealth. And I think we're going to see a real reset in that. And it's a time to get back to nature, to get small again, to get real, but to really get real. And, I know there's the phrase that's going around, make America great, make America great, make America great. But, in order to really make America great again, you have to really face the truth. And the truth is that, that America has a lot of blood on its hands, because it, massacred, genocide the true Americans that were here, the indigenous people. Then it enslaved African Americans, take them over here. And then, the truth is, the founding of America, which I did a video about, and I'll talk about in more detail, was by corporations. The Virginia Company in Jamestown, Virginia, the first British settlement, so it was Spain and England that fought over this territory that belonged to the true indigenous people. And my bloodline is from there. My family still lives in Jamestown to this day. But so it's something karmic that we have to deal with. Now, if you understand the reality that we have lived many times, that there are, we call them past lives, but since I talk about it in the book, there really is no time. So there are alternative identities. And so there are these aspects of yourself that have been both victimizer and victim. So many times you've probably been both, the Europeans that have come in and invaded, enslaved and raped and pillaged. And you've also been the indigenous people. That's part of the story of this magnificent experiment or time matrix. And we have to realize that there's parts of us that we have to heal both. So we can't really be blaming, pointing the finger, oh, the white people, or oh, the, you know, because that bitterness, that's not going to heal us, because we've all played all the different roles, I call it, as divine storytellers, and I begin my book saying we're all stories in the mind of God. So it's all been a play, a story that we still have wounds and traumas that we need to heal from. And as you heal, you begin to remember your alternative identities or past lives, as I call them. You begin to remember, and that's a sign that you're healing and your trauma is being erased. And then you are free, truly free to co-create whatever. But you have to heal that shadow part of yourself. So, just to think you're going to go out and, make even though tough times are here, you're going to make it great again. You need to really look deeply. You need to really look at the history to see the agendas so you can free yourself from them, heal yourself from them. You can't heal in lies. All right. So that's why we're talking about the true history of America, so you can understand how we have ended up where we are and what we can do so we don't continue to repeat history repeating itself. So that's the most important thing. So how can you do that in your own life? Because it always starts with you first. Don't want you to start any great movements. You don't have to start, there's a lot of those movements out there. So what can you do? And that's the question to ask. And we'll be talking more about that, but we're about to wrap up now. But I would say first, look inside yourself and feel. There may be a lot of feelings, so you need to feel to heal. And then secondly, I would begin to develop a relationship with Mother Earth, with nature. Try to get out and be with her as much as possible. Try to do even small things like sprouting seeds or growing herbs, even if you live in a high rise. Start following the signs. If you're getting signs to move out of these smart cities, these genocidal cities, start following your intuition and start asking for help and start really committing to being of service to others, service to our Mother Earth, service to this whole ascension process. And you'll see miracles happen in your life. You'll see that you will experience abundance, even though, you might not have all the material things you want. You will experience more of a true sense of abundance. You will begin to heal yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And you will begin to have a greater sense of purpose. So if my words have inspired you, please tune in next week. We will be here every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'm in Italy, so it's Rome time at 6 p.m. here, 12 noon East Coast time, 5 to my friends in England, my sisters and brothers in England. And it's such a joy. I'm committed to do this for a year, spending my own money to do this because I really believe in it. It brings me great satisfaction, and I'm very passionate about helping people to be the change and to co-create a new earth. So, I hope to see you next week. And if you have any questions or messages you want to send to me, please go to my website, www.infinitehuman.com, and you can communicate with me there. and subscribe. And my newsletter will have the most recent updates as to what's going on, what I'm doing, and what the topics we're going to be talking about. And also, if you feel strongly about sharing and being a guest, please reach out to me. All right. So, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. And welcome to the New Consciousness Renaissance. Welcome to the resetting to the infinite in every aspect of your life. And I look forward to seeing you next week and hearing from you. So I send you great, great love, great, great joy, and know that you're loved. Know that you're supported. Know that there's so much help available. All you need to do is ask for it. You are all that is, ever has been, and ever, ever shall be. You are infinite, infinite, infinite. Ciao from now.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.